millions of dollars in bribes in the hidden debt scheme. Reporting from Maputo to Channel Africa, I'm Milton Malulek.
This is Africa Digest here on Channel Africa Radio. I am Kumbero Munjelele. Good evening. Zambia is on record framing a policy that its education system below tertiary level is free education to all learners in government schools. According to government, all children that are supposed to be in preschool or early childhood to grade 12 can walk into a classroom after only registering, buying necessities like uniforms and books, among others, but do not have to pay school fees because it is footing that bill through grants. However, lapses in this policy are being exposed in this report by Arthur Davies Sikopo, our Zambian correspondent based in Lusaka.
Indeed, all what one that is eligible to be in school in Zambia today should not worry about paying school fees, but grab those books and walk into a classroom till they finish their grade 12, like President of Zambia, Hakainde Hichilema, and his administration would always advise.
We realize that many children were not in school, were offered free education. It's deliberate, it's not by chance.
But this is not as good as it sounds to be for persons with disabilities. Persons with disabilities needs are mainly not considered in general, and the coming of not paying school fees is seemingly not seeing any change in this regard, as they continue to be left out, like this journalist can confirm in some government school checked, and parents of some children with disabilities would attest. Dr. Frankson Musukwa, president of the Special Education Teachers Union of Zambia, who is himself deaf, is appreciating the government for introducing free education. Zambia is a signatory to various international protocols, including the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, under Article 24, which states that children with disabilities are not excluded from free and compulsory primary education or secondary education on basis of their disability. However, in this country, persons with disabilities to a large extent are being excluded. Dr. Musukwa of Special Education Teachers Union of Zambia says his organization is concerned that the free education policy has come with challenges for learners with disabilities, such as few schools across the country can accommodate learners with disabilities. And in most cases, you find that learners with disabilities are placed in one classroom with all grades, an environment, he says, compromises the good purpose of free education. He says in this message that has been translated,
ranging from lack of incentives for teachers, schools not been funded from central government as special education sector has been excluded from grants, lack of teaching and learning materials in school and poor state of infrastructure among other challenges in delivery the provision of free education from ECE to secondary.
Is quality education guaranteed with such complaints? For Bruce Choma of Disability Rights Watch, this is a serious matter that needs urgent attention, as persons of special needs, like those with autism, epilepsy, and intellectual challenges are being left behind.
We realize that children who require more intensive support, like children with autism and those with intellectual disabilities, do not have any adequate support measures in our public education system, which means that their learning outcomes are going to become very bad. And in the case of children with epilepsy and autism, there's actually nothing to talk about in the public school system that caters to their needs. Many parents who have got autistic children end up looking for private schools or facilities where they can attempt to have their children looked after, because there's nothing the government is doing that we can talk about.
Ms. Ajoma is now sharing ideas on how these challenges can be dealt with, and proposes that resources like the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, ease the challenges of persons with disabilities in communities.
Until the CDF allocations for education, bursaries, sponsorships, boarding school bursaries comes to fruition, we are yet to see any meaningful impact that the new Dawn administration's free education policy will have on learners with disabilities. For now, we are in a very dire and worrying situation.
Zambia has few education facilities for persons with disabilities, and Dr. Musukwa is urging government to ensure that Munali Center of Excellency, whose works have stalled for years, should be completed. Dr. Musukwa also advises government that, as a matter of policy priority, to recruit trained special education teachers.
Special schools should receive grants with own and independent bank account as teaching and learning materials in most cases for visual impaired are not locally available on market, and they are. From planned 120 schools government plans to build this year, 10% should be reserved for learners with disabilities in all 10 provinces with boarding facilities and accessibility standard.
Ministers of Education and Information, Douglas Yakalima and Chushika Sanda, respectively, who have the mandate over this, were not available for an immediate response. Reporting for the SABC's Channel Africa in Lusaka, Zambia, I am Arthur Davies, Sikopo.
Now, reports from the Horn of Africa say 7.1 million people in Somalia are facing crisis level of food insecurity due to a fourth consecutive failed rainy season, skyrocketing food prices, and an underfunded humanitarian response. Channel Africa's James Shimanyula has more.
Country Director of the World Food Programme, in short WFP, in Somalia, Elkhidi Dalum, says 50% of Somalia's population of 16 million is now facing crisis-level food insecurity. According to Dalum, WFP is scaling up its response as much as possible and prioritizing